Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing okay. If you're new, hi, my name is Emily and I have just recently given birth to my second little baby, a baby girl named emmi.n.baby. If you haven't seen it already, I do have a birth vlog on my channel which is quite raw, quite emotional, and captured the whole birth of Evie. Guys, sorry if I'm swaying. I'm trying to get her to sleep, she's just here. And if I'm swaying, I'm sorry, I know that's so annoying. Yeah, so if you haven't already, go watch my birth vlog. It goes into a lot of detail and you can actually see her being born, which obviously was amazing to even get that on camera. But today I just kind of wanted to sit down and chat with you guys about kind of like the ins and outs, everything that I wasn't quite able to pick up the camera and talk about while I was in labour, because quite a lot went down. And also after Evie was born, there was quite a lot of drama that kind of happened. So I kind of wanted to sit down and talk, let you guys know all of that, and I will pop up clips, photos, videos that are relevant to what I'm talking about at the start. So yeah, grab your cup of tea, grab some biscuits and let's chat. Also, if you see me looking down, it's because I've got all the notes on my phone ready to be a reminder, because yeah, so much went down. Oh my goodness. Right, let me get into it. So we're going to start off on Tuesday the 28th of November. So at this point I was 40 weeks and 5 days pregnant and I was over it, guys. I was over it. So I'd asked my midwife for a stretch and sweep. I'd asked for 2 previously, but in case you didn't know, in my pregnancy I had polyhydramnios. I believe that's how you say it, I could be wrong, which basically just means there's too much fluid around the baby. So they were never able to do a sweep because there was the risk that my waters could break, and that the cord could fall down, so they needed her head to be really well settled onto my cervix and into my pelvis before they were happy to do a stretch and sweep. So I went to this appointment and thank the Lord she was low enough that we could do the stretch and sweep. So that happened at 1 o'clock on the Tuesday, and after that we went home and we went on a really long walk, up and down hill, up and down steps. We did all sorts of walking and I came home, sat on the sofa and I started having contractions. They were pretty regular, I'd say every 5 to 7 minutes, and they lasted for about 2 hours. And then it was kind of like time to do Miley's bedtime, so I kid you not, I looked at Jordan and I went, I think it's happening. I stood up and I did not get a single contraction after I said that. Totally shot myself in the foot and jinxed it. Yeah, did not have a single contraction after that and I was gutted. So then the next day, Wednesday the 29th, when I was exactly 41 weeks pregnant, I started losing my mucus plug, which was horrendous. It was literally all day long, just constant discharge. Oh, it was actually vile, but yeah, that just kind of happened all day. Wednesday, nothing else really happened, and then on the Thursday, I popped a message to my midwife and went, look, I am desperate, please, 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 can I have another sweep? And she was like, yeah, of course, pop down at 11 AM. So that is what we did. And then at 11 AM I had another sweep, and at this sorry, I should have said, at the last sweep, I think she said I was 2 to 3 centimetres dilated. And then at this appointment she said I was a good 3 centimetres. I think she said she could stretch me to a 4. So definitely made progress, and obviously I said I'd lost lots of mucus. So yeah, anyway, literally from the second that she did that sweep, I immediately started having contractions. I'd say every 10 to 15 minutes on the whole drive home. They're very mild, I could still drive through them. We went and picked Miley up from my mum's and then we went home. And Jordan was at work that day at 4 o'clock. So anyway, so we got home, I was just chilling, and yeah, I knew I was in labour, but I didn't dare say anything because obviously like 2 days before I'd said that and then they all stopped. So yeah, but they were definitely getting more to the point where I was like, I can't talk, I can't walk while they're happening. So yeah, they were coming about every 5 minutes-ish when it got to 4 o'clock and Jordan had to leave for work. And I remember after he left for work, literally just sitting on the floor in the hallway, crying, because I was like, how am I gonna look after Miley while I'm having these contractions on my own? But it seemed silly to not send him to work just because my labour having stopped on that Tuesday. Like, I didn't want him to come home from work and then it all to stop and that kind of thing. So we sent him to work until I knew it was definite, wasn't going to stop. Once it got to about 5:30, 6ish, I was like, right, no, I need to get up, I need to feed Marley, I need to get him to bed, because if this is the real deal, then I need him to be asleep, and I just couldn't cope with them either. Like, I couldn't look after him, like, you know, and I didn't want them to start getting painful, me to start getting vocal and scare him. So I was like, right, we need to do bedtime. Basically, as soon as I started doing bedtime, as soon as I stood up, they definitely slowed down and got a lot less painful, which is probably when I picked up the camera, was just before I put Marley to bed and started off my birth vlog. And then, yeah, you'll have seen that clip. I kind of briefly spoke about everything. So then I was putting Marley to sleep, we read a little bedtime story, and we were just cuddling on the bed, and they picked up. I still said they were coming every 5 minutes, like they came back to 5 minutes because they'd slowed down. They came back to 5 minutes, but they definitely ramped up in terms of pain, and I was finding it so hard lying there while having a contraction. So they were just coming and they were really painful, and you've probably seen the video, I was literally like bracing myself, and Marley took an hour to go to sleep, and I was just like dying because I was getting vocal and I was really tensing up because I was trying not to make a noise because I didn't want to wake him up every time I thought he was finally going to sleep. So at that point, I'd say about 9 PM, I messaged Jordan and said, look, get home from work, mainly because I just wanted my TENS machine on, and I obviously couldn't put that on myself. So yeah, I was like, come home, put the TENS machine on me, I'm dying. So after I'd finally got Marley to sleep, I went and sat on the birthing ball in his bedroom, and they really ramped up in pain and timings. I'd say they were coming every 2 to 3 minutes, like they were really getting close together. Jordan obviously came home, he put my TENS machine on, grabbed something to eat, grabbed the last few bits ready for the hospital. And I remember I just got so emotional because I was thinking they're coming every 2 to 3 minutes. Like, in theory, that could mean that like labour is like really, like, you know, I'm literally about to give birth. So I was starting to panic because the hospital is an hour away from us. So yeah, I was just crying. I was like, I can't physically bring myself to go and say goodbye to Marley, knowing that the next time I see him, he'll be a big brother. Yeah, that was really, really tough. But eventually, probably around 11ish midnight, I messaged my mum and said, look, do you want to like head over? My mum and dad, somebody watch Marley, somebody take us to the hospital. They probably got here around 11:30, midnight-ish. They came, and the second they walked through that door, contractions just, I'd say from that point they were coming every 10 minutes-ish, and they were just getting less and less painful. So I think I told my dad to leave probably only half an hour after they'd got there. I was like, look, go get some sleep, because if this is going to be an all-night thing, there's no point you both just sitting here exhausted. So we sent my dad home to get some sleep. I think he'd also been at work like that day or that night, something like that. So he was exhausted, bless him. So we sent him home, and then my mum stayed for about another hour just to see kind of what was happening. By the way, I'll add, my mum is a midwife. So she was very much like, look, they've slowed down. If you go into hospital and your contractions slow down even more or stop, you're already overdue. They're gonna wanna just induce you, put you on the drip, get things going. And I knew that already, but it was nice to have her kind of tell me that, because I suppose when you're in labour and you're in that pain, you're just kind of like, well, I just want to go to hospital and give birth. By the way, oh my goodness, I keep going back and forth. So obviously I'd planned to have a home birth, however there was no home birth cover that night. So I already knew that was off the cards and that we were going to have to go to hospital. And then yeah, around probably 1 AM, half 1, 2ish, they were just not painful at all. Like, I could talk through them again. So I was like, right, I need to go upstairs and see if I can get some sleep. And mum, you go home, get sorted, get yourself rested. It's going to be a long ass day. So she went home and I laid down in bed, and you bet you, the second I laid down, they were unbearable again. And again, yeah, I was just laying there like getting vocal. I was so scared of waking Marley up, but I'd kind of doze off to sleep, and then every time I'd finally get to sleep, I'd get another one, and it was just unbearable. Then I'd say around 4 or 5 AM, I actually decided to go run myself a bath and get in there, and I literally stayed in that bath, guys, I kid you not, about 5 hours. It was like the only thing that would make them bearable, even though they weren't. They were horrific. And I was laid in that bath and I was feeling them getting more and more intense, but they were still coming every 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm quite knowledgeable on labour. Obviously, as I said, my mum is a midwife, and in my head I'm thinking, they aren't getting closer together until they've been 3 minutes apart, 2 to 3 minutes apart for an hour or two. Like, nothing's happening. Like, I know nothing's happening. And I was like, what do I even do? Because they're getting painful. Like, I cannot go on like this forever. I've been in labour now nearly 24 hours and it was just unbearable. I really started losing hope, and I was sat in the bath thinking, you know what? We're going to go to the hospital and I'm going to get an epidural and I'm going to sleep because I am exhausted. I hadn't eaten, I hadn't slept. I was just past it. And also I was thinking maybe if I get to the hospital, they'll break my waters and that'll speed things up. And I started thinking all these things that I knew from my whole pregnancy. I knew I didn't want any intervention. I didn't want any of this, but I was like losing hope, to say the least. So then my mum came back over to ours at around 8 AM, I'll say, just to help, you know, get Marley ready for the day, bathed, fed, breakfast, all that stuff. So she came about 8 and she brought some cocodamol with her, and I had that, and it definitely helped. It kind of put me back in that mind frame of, you know what, no, I can do this. I am a woman. My body was made for this. I got this. And yeah, they were still coming every 10-ish minutes, and they were bearable. They were absolute agony. But because I had that big break between them, I was getting that break, so it was kind of okay. And then we decided that Marley would go to my mum's. Now, anyone who knows me knows I am very particular about car seats, and bless my mum and dad, they'd been out and bought a car seat that I had approved to use in their car. They'd just been out and bought it especially for when I went into labour. And yeah, so Marley had never been in anyone's car but mine, like without me. Like, I'd never let him been in anyone else's car. Now, Mum, I love you and I'm sorry, but I got to tell this story because so when there's been a couple of instances throughout our childhood where my mum has accidentally locked children in the car, obviously not on purpose, but where, you know, she's given the child the car keys have been locked. So I have a fear of it. So whenever I put any of the kids in the car, I always make sure there is one door open at least until I'm sat in the driver's seat. Like, I always leave a door open just in case. So my mum puts Marley in the car. I'm like already crying because I'm like, oh my god, I can't cope with this. This is like saying goodbye to him. And Jordan was obviously out there checking that he was in properly, you know, all that stuff. And she gives him her keys while she walks round to get in her seat. The second she goes for her driver's door handle, the boy locks the car. The boy locks the car. And I am telling you, the way, oh, it was horrific. So my mum and Jordan are there knocking on the window like, Marley, press the button, open the car, come on baby, you can do it. Giving him all this. Meanwhile, I am sat in the house, still having contractions, like sobbing. It was horrendous. I was trying to put on a brave face, and my mum had said, oh, you know, we'll try for 5-10 minutes, then we'll ring my dad, see if he can bring up the spare key. So I was like, right, okay. Bearing in mind this was the 1st of December now, and it was snowing, it was freezing cold, there was snow everywhere, it was awful. So, and he didn't have a blanket over him, bless him. Obviously, he's in the car seat, so he doesn't have a coat on or a hat on. And then she rings my dad to come up and bring the spare key. And he goes, we lost the spare key months ago. And I'm like, well, what are we doing then? Like, I wasn't saying this out loud because I literally couldn't even speak. I stayed in the house. Oh, it was awful. And I'm just there like, what the hell do we do? Like, what do you mean we don't have a spare key? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing, guys? Oh, and then obviously my poor mum, bless her, I could tell she felt so guilty and just horrendous about the whole situation, as you would. And obviously then my dad came up and he was trying to help, and there was like my mum, my dad, Jordan, all there trying to talk to Marley, get him to open it. And at that point he started to get upset and cry, and I was just like losing it at that point. And I just came outside and I said, look, I'm gonna have to ring the police or the fire brigade or somebody, because I can't, like, how long are we sitting here waiting? Like, it's cold. He's been in that car about 15-20 minutes now. I gotta ring them, I'm sorry, like. And then my dad was like, oh, we'll throw a bit brick through the window. And I was like, no, please don't break your car. Like, we'll fix it, it's fine. And then I rang the fire brigade, and as I did that, Jordan walked back in the house. Thank God, because they answered, and I literally went, ah! And just started sobbing, like, couldn't breathe, hyperventilating, couldn't say a word. I was so heartbroken, still having contractions, bear in mind. And so then I just passed the phone to Jordan, and obviously he was able to say, look, this is what's happened, you know, and they were like, we'll be there in 10-15 minutes, don't worry. And oh, the drama. And I was thinking, you know what, this is horrendous. He's crying. This is the worst thing that has literally ever happened to me as a parent. But then I was like, you know what, he's going to see a fire brigade, fire truck, and that'll make it for him. He'll be fine, and they're going to get here. Everything's going to be fine. And then about 5-10 minutes later, just as we were expecting them to be here, my dad had been searching in his car for a while, and he literally picks up and he goes, this is the other car, by the way. So he came up in his car and he found the spare key of my mum's car in his car. Thank the Lord. And we get Marley out, and obviously we bring him inside, and we rang the fire brigade and obviously told them, you know, he's out now, you don't have to come. And I was sobbing. My mum, oh, my poor mum, bless her, guys, she felt horrendous. She was like nearly been sick, like crying. And I think she thought I'd like never speak to her again, because she knows how much of a thing I have about it, like how I'm so particular about leaving a car door open. She just felt awful, bless her. So we brought Marley inside, gave him some hot chocolate, warmed him up, had some telly, you know, took his temperature, just made sure he was fine, and he was. And then, yeah, we decided that, you know, he was obviously still going to go to my mum's, but I was a bit like, he's never going to get in that car again, like, are you kidding me? So Jordan actually went down with Marley, like in the car with him, and then he walked back up home, because they only lived like 5 minutes down the road from us. So by the time this had all kind of happened, I'd say it was about 10-11 a.m. and obviously Marley was at my mum's, so I thought, right, I'm just going to lay on the sofa and see if I can sleep, see if I can rest, just see if I can do anything. So I just laid on the sofa, we both watched TV, Jordan made me like some toast, and I was managing, he was literally cutting it up into like 12 pieces, like one little slice of toast, as that's all I could bear, because I just felt sick. And that definitely helped. I stayed on top of the cocodamol, taking it as regularly as I could. I think I only took it once more, to be fair. And yeah, around 3 o'clock, my mum had messaged me saying, look, Marley's getting really tired, do you want me to bring him up for a nap? Obviously my little brother was going to be finishing school, and if he saw him, he loves him, he was never going to go to sleep after that. So I was like, yeah, bring him up, that's fine. And then I think they got back to us by the time it was all done about 3:30. But before they got home, I actually went to the toilet, and I was like, I am over this. I've been in labour for literally 28 hours at this point. I was like, and by the way, they were getting so painful. Still 10 minutes apart, so not progressing, but I was in agony. Agony, guys, absolute agony. So I went to the toilet and I was like, you know what, let me just see what's going on. I mean, I'm not a midwife, I'm not qualified, but surely I'm going to be able to feel, you know, if my cervix is closed, if, you know, there's a head there, and that sort of thing. So I did that, and obviously I can't say exactly, I'm not a midwife, but I would say that I was probably about 7 centimetres. I mean, give or take, I didn't get like a ruler out. And maybe even more, to be honest. But yeah, so obviously I could also feel like this big thing, and I was like, is that her head? And I like panicked, I freaked out, I was like, what the was that? What was that? Totally went into meltdown mode, and I was like, what was that? I spoke to my mum about it. Obviously she's a midwife, and even she was like, sorry, what? So she was like, go back in, tell me, like, have a proper feel, tell me what you're thinking. She was like, is it squishy? I was like, I don't know, I freaked out and like I didn't want to touch it. And then I went back in, and it was really squishy, like a water balloon. It was definitely my waters fully like bulging, ready to pop. So that kind of gave me a bit of hope, but also a bit of fear. Now, if you imagine, this is like nearly going into the next night, so I was like, maybe there's home birth cover. So we rang the hospital about a home birth, but at this point there was just something inside of me saying, no, don't do it, go to hospital, don't have a home birth. Something about me did not want a home birth, and knowing what I know now, thank the Lord I didn't have a home birth. But yeah, there was something inside me, mother's intuition, or just that gut feeling of, get to the hospital, girl. So that was the plan. So of course I was like, right, it's go time. So I was there like putting on my makeup like an absolute donut. Like, who puts on the makeup? If you have seen the pictures of me, or even the video of me giving birth, like, girl, that makeup was not worth it. It just melted off me. But anyway, put the makeup on, was ready to go. So off we were going. And obviously Jordan went and ran around and packed Marley his bag for like his overnight bags, like the hatch, the owlet, the sleep sacks, dummies, pyjamas, everything. So he packed all that, ready to go. And then we went back down and dropped him off with my dad and little brothers, and we were on our way to the hospital. Guys, this feels like pure death. This is about to be a 45-minute drive, and I don't know how the hell a baby isn't gonna fall out of me. So the car journey, guys. Those car contractions were up there with the worst pain ever. I'd say in the car ride, my contractions were coming every 5-ish minutes, so they were picking up, and the pain, oh my God, the pain. Every contraction, I was like hitting the top of my mum's car, like, I can't do this, I want an epidural. I was like screaming for an epidural. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. My mum, bless her, she was like, you can do this, breathe. And I was like, shut up, don't speak to me, don't talk to me, just shh. I was like a bitch the whole time I was having a contraction. It was awful. And then, but then in between the contractions, I totally was like, I was listening to my hypnobirthing, and I was like totally calm, relaxed, like proper in the zone. And then the second those contractions hit, it was like hell. I was like beating up my mum's car. I was being so rude to everyone. And like, I mean, my mum was probably rushing because obviously she didn't know. She's probably thinking, well, if she was 7 centimetres back in that bathroom and she's screaming like this baby's probably coming. So she was probably like a bit rushed, but all I remember is every time I opened my eyes after a contraction, I could see the car in front of us. I could see that they had their brake lights on, but we weren't slowing down. My mum was just going for it, and I was there like, but yeah, we got there in one piece, we got there safe, all was good. And so by the time we got to the hospital, it'd been about 5 minutes since I had a contraction, and it was only 6 o'clock at night, and maybe 5:30, 6, and there was like people all outside the hospital, and I was like, I aren't getting out and having one of these contractions in front of those people. So I sat in the car for like 3 minutes. I was like, I'm not getting out until I've had a contraction. Like, I need to be able to get to the ward without having a contraction. And we waited and we waited, and it just wasn't coming. So Jordan went and got a wheelchair for me because I could not walk. I could not walk. So I got in the wheelchair and we went to the lift, and there was these people that were like in the lift as it came down, and I could feel one coming, and I was like trying not to scream, but oh, it was awful. And then all these people come out the lift, and I don't think they realised what was happening. So they were like, oh, sorry. They had like kids and stuff. So then Jordan obviously quickly got me up there. And now at this point, I don't know what happened. I thought I either weed myself, guys, or my waters, like a little bit of water dribbled. It happened about 2 or 3 times from literally the lift up to the labour ward. So maybe it was like a bit of hindwaters leaking. Maybe it was just that I weed myself. Who knows? But yeah, that is what happened. And then we got up to the labour ward. Now, I'm going to leave this video there, guys. It is getting lengthy. So I'm going to hop on. I'm going to film part 2. And yeah, if you do want to see part 2, hit subscribe. Hopefully it'll be up within the next week of me posting this video. So yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2, and I will see you then to discuss all the drama that happened at the hospital and after Miss Aviana was born. Bye.